they were basically serfs until about the middle of the second half of the 19th century. And so they had been emancipated. And then some of those people who were emancipated got a little bit of land and started to have a life, started to be successful peasants. And they were also the people that grew the bulk of the crops, because what you see happening in any productive domain is that a small percentage of people do almost all the productive work. So there's a small percentage of productive farmers who grew all the crops, right? And then there's all sorts of farmers who were only farmers by name and they weren't successful at all. So there was a certain relationship between being productive as a farmer and developing some wealth. Maybe you had a house and maybe you could hire a person or two, and which you'd think would actually be a good thing, especially if you were also growing food. Okay, so you imagine you get a village, and now there's a bit of a socioeconomic pyramid, and there's some people that are doing well, and it isn't the crooked people that are really annoying. The people who, like the genuine kulaks, let's say, that small percentage of psychopathic types who were basically profiting criminally off the efforts of others. Those aren't so annoying, those people, because they're rich, but they don't deserve it. And so they don't stand towards you as a moral ideal that shames you. But the really annoying people are the ones who are doing well and deserve it, especially if you're someone who's doing nothing and is bitter. Okay, so there's the village, and you've got your people who are doing all right, and then you've got a huge strata of people who aren't upset about the people who are doing well. They might even admire them and be happy that they're around because they're making the community thrive and growing some food. Then you have this little strata at the bottom of people who are ne'er-do-wells and on the more psychopathic end of things, and they're bitter and resentful and waiting for their bloody opportunity. And then the communist intellectuals come into town and say, those people that are doing well, they actually, everything they've got is ill-gotten, and they stole it, and they stole it from you, and look at how badly you're doing. And the reason you're doing badly is because these people who are lording it over you and who have all this creature comfort, they took that from you. It's yours by right. And so then all that resentment and jealousy and hatred and rage, alcohol fueled, as you might well imagine, has this moral reason to go with pitchforks and in a mob and surround those houses and to strip them of everything they have and to rape the women and to kill the occupants or to ship them off to the middle of Siberia where they froze to death because there were or died of dysentery or whatever other plague managed to weave its way through these camps. And so you have the intellectuals providing the moral rationale for the worst ethical actors in these small villages doing the worst possible things under the guise of compassion. Right, and that's part of that victim-victimizer narrative. It's just, and you can imagine that. You can imagine a dark night. You can imagine the winter. You can imagine the alcohol. You can imagine the rage that fuels these people who are drinking too much in the pubs that have been sitting there for the last 20 years, like, what would you say, eating up their own souls with resentment and bitterness. And then someone comes in and says, you're the true victim here, and here's the people that you can go after. And then, if you play that on your imagination, you get some real sense of exactly what sort of horror that would produce. You think about the rape, for example, or just the theft, but it's the rape that you can really think about as absolute revenge for all that bitter resentment, all fueled by the fact that you'd sat there for the last 20 years being completely goddamn useless and bitter and angry and fantasizing about the day that would come where you'd have your opportunity. God, and then the whole country, and that was the whole country. Oh, it's just unbelievable.